Hey guys, John Zombro here with The Lifetime Athlete, and welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of video gait analysis, and we're going to go over a few things to look for when examining your gait video. In part 1, we reviewed the techniques and tips for getting good footage, and now we'll take a look at a few of the components of running gait. It's important to recognize that when we are running or moving athletically in any sense, we're expressing integrated whole body movement. Even though we will break down a few of the phases of the gait cycle, the sum is greater than the parts for sure. Also, keep in mind that each and every lifetime athlete has a unique signature in movement that is driven by genetics, structure, injury, and even psychological state to some extent. Generally speaking, we analyze gait to see what's going on and to learn how an athlete is moving. We look for things that either identify unique characteristics of each runner or that could possibly be improved. If a runner's never injured and performing at their goal level, I'm less likely to try to fix anything. However, if someone is having a chronic nagging pain problem or just wants to run faster, we'll look at anything that can enhance running economy and running efficiency. It's definitely an art form. One thing to keep in mind when we talk about running mechanics is that there are both similarities and differences between jogging, running, and sprinting. The range of motion, intent, and force application will be quite low in jogging, across a broad middle in running at different speeds, and at its highest in sprinting. The concepts are similar, but the intent with which they are applied will roughly correlate to the speed of locomotion. As you could see from the table I provided, there are a number of things to consider when analyzing running gait, and if you'd like to read through that information, there's an article available at thelifetimeathlete.com and also a discussion on video gait analysis part 2 available on the Lifetime Athlete podcast. You've been watching a number of local athletes which I coach in our training tribe, and while all of these are healthy, high-performing athletes, each has some unique characteristics in their running gait that we'll go over individually. Performing gait analysis is a fun way to mix up your training and potentially uncover some aspects of your mechanical properties which can be enhanced to improve your performance and your enjoyment with all of your sporting endeavors. Okay, let's get started. First up, we've got Viper. You're going to notice immediately that his running form is very smooth and graceful and very relaxed. What you're going to pick up on as you watch him coming through in this side view, however, is that Viper has a slight tendency to lean back as he is running. So it's nothing critical. I'm not sure I'd even try to change it, but he's leaning back a little bit. Foot strike's nice under the hip, but his shoulders are back a tad, and I think that's probably related to some back issues that he's had in the past. So I'm not sure I'd be too concerned about that, but you can see it showing up here as he runs by, just leaning back a little bit. Now we've got the Panther. And with the Panther, what you're going to notice right away, he's an extremely springy, bouncy, elastic athlete. And this is endemic in these types of beasts, just a natural sprinter, great form. I don't think there's anything I'd change. In fact, I'd use Panther as an example for most people when they're running fast. Now, this type of running form, we want to maybe tone it down a bit if he's going to get into any endurance type training. And I would also say that this is a very tendon-specific style of running, so we want to increase loader volume very gradually. But I'm going to stop it here, and you can just take a look at how Panther has that amazing alignment of all his limbs, and the plumb line just goes straight up from the ground. Nice work, Panther. And there he goes again. You can just appreciate that bouncy, springy nature. And that's just the nature of that beast. All right, now we've got a great example in atomic fireball of a concentric athlete. Great power, great force production, just pushing off the ground. That's a trait that we see in a lot of stronger, more muscular runners, is that they can run with deeper knee flexion angles just because of all that quad strength that they possess. As you see in this case, you're going to notice the feet and you're going to look at the foot strike, and maybe you're going to say to yourself, it seems like she has an overt heel strike as you see the bottom of the shoe coming forward. I'm going to say it's actually just an artifact of running in shoes because she rolls through that soft heel strike very rapidly and loads the forefoot. So again, not a big concern. We sometimes have that controversy when we think about foot strike in running, and in reality, if you're running and loading onto the forefoot, and initial contact on the heel is not such a great concern. Yeah, and I think you can see that again in this example. There's a very quick transition onto the forefoot so that we're not seeing a hard heel strike out in front of the body, which would be a concern. So that's actually something to keep in mind when you're watching yourselves. All right, Mighty Buck is here. Right away, you're going to notice one of Mighty Buck's gifts. He uses those eccentric contractions to be so rhythmical. He's smooth and extremely fatigue resistant. You can just see that nice, steady pace as he runs through. Again, watching him from the side, you're going to notice that he has a slight tendency to be a little bit anteriorly tilted in the pelvis. So he's got a little bit of a forward tilt and a little bit of a back arch there, which is kind of driving that straight leg heel strike. And so this is a little more pronounced than what we saw in Atomic Fireball, but it's still not a huge concern because he doesn't land too far forward or aggressively. Okay, now we've got Predator. And what the Predator is showing us, first of all, is that gait analysis works for every athlete, and even if you're 76 years old, there's quite a bit that you can do with your form and analyzing it. So what we're going to see, and you can see this as he comes closer in the screen, is Predator's fairly squared up. He doesn't exhibit much in the way of rotation. That hips and torso, they're not counter-rotating very much, and I think that's an artifact of his maturation and loss of mobility. But we can work on that and improve it just a bit. All things considered, still looks fairly good to me. And you'll be able to notice the lack of rotation from the side views here because he holds that trunk rigid and then sort of has a seesaw motion with the arms. Again, that's not a huge concern to me because when I look at him from the hips down, it looks fairly textbook, like a great human beast locomoting. So love to see that, and also really enjoy the inspiration that we get from training with Predator, showing what can be done. Okay, last and probably least, yours truly, Old Daddy Lightning. And what we've got here is a guy who exhibits some blended traits, certainly not quite as elastic as the Panther or even the Viper, but fairly smooth, still got some spring and some bounce. But what you're going to catch right there is look at that toe out on the left. And right away you're going to say, gosh, that's an asymmetry. Can we correct it? Is it because your big toe is stiff or your ankle lacks mobility? In my case, no, it's actually because I have a congenital retroversion or external rotation in my hip, and so my leg stays out that way. Works great when you want to make left turns all the time running on the track. But otherwise, form's not too bad. I've got a few things I want to tune up, as we all do. So guys, that's it for our video. I hope you enjoyed learning a bit more about gait analysis. And if you want to read in detail, please check out that article as well as listen to the podcast where I'll go over the nuances of all these components and characteristics to a greater degree. Thanks again. Until next time, this is Coach JZ signing out from the Lifetime Athlete.